Hi everybody, we're here at LessConf in Jacksonville with McDerment of Freshbooks, and we're just going to have a little chat today. Let's see. Well, the first question I want to ask you is a little bit maybe broad in scope, but it actually ties to something you talked about at the Q&A after your presentation, where you talked about not competing with other companies. There seems to be kind of two parallel business models going on in the tech world right now, where you have companies like Google who want to own everything and be everything to everybody, kind of almost Big Brother scary. Sometimes people get a little freaked out about. And then you have companies like yours who want to focus on one thing and doing it super, super well. What is it that has attracted you to doing that focused thing, as opposed to trying to be everything to everybody?
Right. So why are we so focused?
Yeah.
I think there's really two parts to that question. Number one is we're very early on. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and so I have a million ideas all the time, and I want to be doing 100 things at once, but you can't. And I had very early on in building a business, one of our advisors, he told me, there's a four-letter word in business, and that's focus. Because if you don't focus, you're going to wind up in a whole bunch of four-letter words. So I sort of took that to heart, and we've stayed very focused in building FreshBooks. And but I mean, the flip side of that coin is there's another reason why you need to do that is, I mean, we've been a small company. I spent 2.5 years in my parents' basement building this business, and we did not have the resources that Google has, right? So when you're competing against something that is literally capable of being almost everything to everybody, because I'll tell you, anyone who's everything to everybody is just destined to fail, because you can't be. I don't think that's much of a strategy, but you know, when you're competing with people who have enormous amount of resources and, you know, huge technical competence and all these things that Google does have, or someone like Google, then you need to pick the ways in which you are going to compete. And the chances of them being domain expert in everything that they do, it can't be done. So, you know, you need to maybe do this. So some of you're going to have some overlap with them, but, you know, you recognize that people are going to pay you for what you do. They don't. You know, and we choose to compete doing things like, you know, extraordinary customer service and just going deep with our capabilities within billing and invoicing in ways that I don't suspect Google would ever do.
Everything else. Okay. One of the things that everybody's talking about right now, that of course is core to your business, is the whole concept of we're all going to live in the cloud in the future online. And of course, the whole FreshBooks service exists in that area. I am very well known on the WebWorkerDaily staff as a cloud skeptic, of being scared of putting my data out there where it is, or it feels to me anyway, where it's more accessible to the outside world than it is when it's living on my computer. What do you tell people like me?
Well, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'll explain to you, maybe there's another way of looking at this. And, you know, when I tell you this, it may not change your way of thinking at all. But here's the thing. For example, there are horror stories of, you know, small business owners who, you know, use a product like QuickBooks, and they have all their accounting data on a machine, and the machine dies, or there's a fire, or any number of things happen, but effectively they lose all their data because it was in one place, or the backup failed, even though they had backup in place. And so the thing with the cloud is, it's pretty nice, is the chances of that happening, like, I mean, we work in multiple data centers, and we back up off-site within both data centers, so there's, you know, your data, we're taking care of this sort of data management, which is vital, because you know, more and more businesses are data. So we take care of that for you. And the other piece of it is, I think you need to think, I'm a big fan of alignment. Okay? In business, I think alignment's really important. And for us, if you have a problem with your data or your experience using us, so does everyone else that we have as a customer. So the onus is on us. Through serving you, we are serving everybody. And if we muddle that up in some way, then basically our business is at risk. So we can't afford to do that. We are very closely aligned with your interests. And we probably care more about taking care of your data than you would if you had it on your desktop. Because for us, it's not just about you, it's about everybody. And I think if you know that about the vendors you're working with, I still think you need to audit your vendors and choose ones who share your values and you believe in and you trust. But if you have that, I think I think there's good reason to be confident the cloud is in fact a very good solution. You don't look convinced.
Oh no, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. My biggest actual reservation about the cloud, besides the backup, I live in disaster territory, so the idea of actually having an off-site backup is actually a very good one. I do realize that that's a very valuable thing to have because you're right, I live in hurricane and wildfire territory, so I realize the wisdom of that. Like one of my major reservations about the cloud is actually legal access to data. The whole concept of it being accessible via subpoena versus via search warrant.
Okay.
And that's something that is still kind of shaking out as far as how companies are managing that, because most companies have not had to really deal with those sorts of issues yet.
So, I mean, my thinking there is pretty simplistic. So, I mean, I understand some of the nuances of what you're talking about. I'm going to forget about all those for a moment and just be simplistic and say, if you are unethical or have things that you should be worried about from a law enforcement standpoint, okay, I mean, maybe go find another solution, but the vast majority of people are good, upstanding people, and they don't have concerns around, if push came to shove, why would somebody be subpoenaing my data? Why? And most people can cross all those things off their list and be like, okay, I can be as paranoid as I want to be, but if somebody finds out, I invoiced such and such a company on such and such a date because law enforcement needed to get that information they did, what's really wrong with that? And by and large, the answer is really there's not a problem with that.
Okay. You kind of addressed a little bit too in the Q&A that I was listening to, that you seem to have a kind of a picture in your head of who the customer is that you're trying to reach. Can you talk a little bit about what that customer, the vision is that you're trying to reach, who that customer is?
Sure. We serve professionals who get paid for their time and expertise, period. And for the most part, these are entrepreneurial people in small teams.
In small teams.
Okay, so we are the online billing and bookkeeping service for professionals who get paid for their time and expertise. Full stop. There are many of these are the companies that before they become a QuickBooks customer, right? They're not interested in accounting per se, double ledger. What they need is help, maintaining their, keeping up with their records, getting their bills out quickly. Most of their accounting and bookkeeping is around invoicing. That's our core customer.
So you're not even just limiting to the type of service that in your focus, you're limiting even to the size of customer that you're trying to serve.
Absolutely, and that's back to you can't serve everybody and make them happen. And I mean, we have customers. The number one reason people leave us is they go out of business. The number two reason is they graduate and they need a full accounting package, or they need to work with some ERP system or something like that. And they outgrow our service, and that's fine with us.
One thing I noticed looking at your website is that part of your board of advisors for the company is your dad, Bob. Obviously, working with a family member comes with all sorts of luggage and complications that it doesn't have when you hire somebody off the street. Can you talk about what's the good and the bad that kind of comes with adding that extra relationship into the mix and when you're working?
Absolutely. So for me, it's been great. My dad is a wonderful individual and has great judgment. He's a corporate lawyer of many years, and he was a partner at a big firm in Toronto, which is like being a big firm in like Chicago or New York or something like that. And he's now just counsel to that firm, and they call on him for things from time to time. But and that's kind of how I look to him as well. As one of the hardest things about building a business is, you don't necessarily have domain expertise in areas. And one of the really big ones is legal. And despite my father being a lawyer and him being able to help me, basically for free, right, which most people don't have when they're building their business, despite that, for the first 4.5 years of our business, aside from headcount, legal is still our biggest expense. So it's enormously costly, and he's been great in helping us. And having someone like that who's seen so many different things happen in the business world and business life over time to just get his input and advice on things, HR related, contract, like sales partnership related, all these things before even going to the lawyer, check my head, have that advice, is great. And as it pertains to him being my dad or not, like, this is one of the things that is fun for us to discuss. This is a guy who worked downtown for a long time. He is very interested in business. He likes these things. So it's a great opportunity to share a mutual interest and passion.
Thanks a lot.